Hey, yo, it's your boy Sam Dupe,
It's your man, Tim Mikell.
It's your boy Warren P.
and you are listening to another great episode of You
You
Good,
good,
bruh?
bruh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you guys for coming on today. You know, we ready to tackle some of this good conversation today, man. And there's been something that's
Mm.
been on my heart. I had a conversation not too long ago, and I was just like, yeah, I got to bring this to my boys, man. We got to talk about this.
Okay.
We and in it is it's I think it's stemming around mental health, but we've had small conversations about this, but today I really want to have a real deep conversation about self-care
Mm.
and what it looks like when a man decides to care for himself in society. There's not really anything that's triggering this conversation. I ain't seen nothing on TV. I ain't I haven't seen people arguing online about it. It
Yeah,
it
you think?
it is just literally something that happened when I kind of fell into a conversation about it, and I realized that there is a very clear relationship between self-care and guilt when it comes to men,
Mm.
and guilt associated with caring for themselves. um we talk all the time about how men are perceived in society as doing machines, and we're perceived as as valuable based upon what we can do for other people. And I think that that's something
Unfortunately.
that's an unfortunate idea that we've dealt with in this society. And the problem is when you decide to do for you, there seems to be this like underlying, and this is for me, and I talked to a couple guys and I felt like they felt the same way, that there seems to be an underlying guilt associated with that. There seems to be an underlying uneasiness
Mm.
that comes along with just saying, you know what, I'm gonna take care of me. You know, I you know I know the kids, but me.
Right.
I know the wife, but me.
Right.
I know, hell, I know the job,
Mm-hmm.
but me. And I was wrestling with that, bro. Like I've been wrestling with it. Like, why is it that we have come to this juncture where men, and maybe it's just me just getting, and I'm gonna talk because I feel like I'm in the middle of my life right now. We talk midlife crisis.
Oh
We
God.
talk. I mean, it's the truth, bro.
You
Like,
do.
I'm gonna go back to that term. I
yeah,
heard somebody say in
yeah,
regards to midlife crisis, but
yeah,
talk your
yeah.
shit.
But when I'm thinking about, 'cause I'm 35 now, and for me, I think people live to what 70, 75, whatever. So it's the middle of my life, and so I'm
Mm.
looking at it like, okay, do I want this next 35 to look like this first 35? You know,
Well, I mean
what?
that's kind of normal though, don't you think? Like, if you look at lifespan development, like the study of lifespan development, I shouldn't just say
Mm-hmm.
you look at it, but just when you look at the charts, like 0 to 2, 3 to 6, like they have things that you kind of go into, including once you become an adult, how your brain or your focus starts to reflect all the way up to the end of life, right? And you're always in reflection from the age you're at right now to the end of your life. You typically are in reflection versus like when we were 25 and younger, it's more about what am I going to do? After you get past in your 30s, it's more like, well, what have I done? And am I, like you said, am I going to continue that? Once you get into your 50s and 60s and 70s, it's like, well, what has my life looked like? Have I lived a good life? So it's kind of natural that you're in that space. But I do think it's interesting that, guilt for men, I don't want to speak for women, but for men, it's guilt and shame. I like to throw that in there. guilt and shame becomes part of our narrative when we do take care of ourselves or go do things that we like. Like we vilify a selfish man. You know, he ain't shit. He did this, he did. But when you talk to him, he might be happy. He might
M-
be,
Man,
active,
Yeah.
look,
and
let me.
everybody around him mad except him.
Well, I remember talking to one of my like friends, and he recently got in a divorce, right?
Mm.
But when you see him, he looks so good. Like you talk, you talk about look like he dropped 50 pounds.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean, you talking about happy, and I asked him, I was like, yo, like you're looking good. He's like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm feeling good too. Like,
Ain't that
you
crazy?
know, and I can only not I can I'm not even gonna say I can only imagine. I know for a fact that probably his ex-wife, and maybe some of the younger kids that he has feel like he's done something wrong. But in his experience, it's clear that he's bettered himself in
Yeah.
ways, right? And and he was like, I'm talking about happy. He's like, bruh, it was just not healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for my kids. It was, and now I'm in a healthier space, physically, mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally. I can care for my kids better because I'm not always fighting with mom about things, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I mean, from my perspective, outside looking in, not inside, I ain't in their business, but from the outside looking, I'm like, you look good. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Look,
But
man.
that probably won't be the feedback generally. But he's gotten to it sounds like he's gotten to a space where he's not taking anybody else's feedback, and he's taking charge of his health, physical and mental. And that's the thing, is like when we take charge, we get judged. Like I've shared before that my wife despises the fact that I have a PlayStation. And I've heard it in social media.
Yeah.
What are you doing playing goddamn games? Da, 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 da. It's me decompressing. It's me taking it out on virtual, whatever that is, instead of taking it out on my family. Like they don't see the trade off.
I gotta jump
And
in right here because
yeah, go
this
ahead.
my apologies, not to cut your knowledge, my brother.
Mm,
But fuck all that, man. I gotta say this because it bothers me. I, two scenarios. Going to what Sam had said about a friend. There's two older adults, 60 plus. Both of them divorced, had kids. One divorced his wife. Now, mind you, added he'll admit this. The way he went about a divorce wasn't the right way. He
mm,
had cheated before he got in, but the man was just like, "Yo, I hated this motherfucker. Like,
mm,
I hated living with her." And I was going to stay until I died, until I had a conversation with one of my close friends. He was like, yo, can't say his name, but he said, you're on the back end of life. Do you want to continue living your life this way until you die? And the man was like, I probably got about 20 plus, 20, 20 if God is willing, years left. And
right.
I don't want to live this way. And he is the happiest man in the world. Got him a new girlfriend. Like his energy is different.
Probably live
We
30 now.
huh? She probably
Probably
I think
live
she in
30
40.
something now.
Yeah, but we were texting and like we had made a bet on some NCAA game and I'm joking like you don't know how to use this new technology. I had to get it in cash. And he sends me, he's like, what's your Venmo? I was like, how the hell you know how to use Venmo? He was like, well, shit, I gotta send money to my ex every every month. This is how we do it. But he was like, shit, it's worth the price of freedom.
Good God
And
Almighty.
but he was like, the only thing that bothers him is like he married into a family, so the kids hate him. But he raised these kids since they were like 5,
Mm-hmm.
8, and they're like grown adults now. But of course, they're gonna ride with moms as they should. But that's the only thing, and it's big, but that's the only thing that hurts him. Then I spoke to one of a family friend that I grew up with, and he didn't speak negatively about his wife, his ex-wife, but he has a new lady now, and you can just the same thing Sam says to where it's like, yo, bro, like I'm just, it's like she's a great woman, the one in my past, but we just weren't meant to be together. And he was like, I don't want to talk on the phone. One, when you come up here, we'll have a man to man talk. I know you recently got married and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I say all that to say, like, you never know somebody's situation, and sometimes as a man, like, you have to not give a fuck when it comes to that self-care. Like, you have to know what is best for you,
Mhm.
because a lot of us die on the inside. Like, I joke with my wife often. There's a there was a friend of her friend's dad just dropped dead. Like, seemed like he was in good health, probably was 60, just dropped dead in front of the family. And Whitney's like, "Oh my God, I don't know what could have caused that man to just do that." And I looked at her and I was like, "You don't know men, because I can tell
Mhm.
you right now why that man just dropped dead like that, and there were no signs. In most cases, I may not be 100% white. That nigga probably been carrying stress for the past 40 years. He probably got some fuck ups in his family that he had to carry on their stress to, whereas he couldn't do what he wanted to do in his life, and the heart and mind was just like, hey nigga, it's better for us to go on the side and live another
Right.
day like this."
Or
But
he liked a lot of bacon.
bruh.
Yeah, possible. Could have been a combination of all those things.
It could be all of it together, right? It could be like
I mean,
it just enjoyed the pork. But look this I and to be real about this, when I was thinking about this while you were talking, Warren, some Ray J is what came into my mind, and I hate the fact that Ray J came to my
Shout out
mind.
Ray J.
But shout out to Ray J. He recently did an interview, and they were asking about, like, because him and his wife, I think this is like their fifth time like
Yeah,
yeah,
trying
fifth
to
or
be
sixth.
divorced.
right.
Yeah, and so they're just like, yo, like, why are y'all keep going back and forth with the divorce thing? And Ray J said something, and I was like, wow, like, because I think I've never heard it verbalized in that way. And he goes, for me, I can give up my happiness for my children. I could give up my day to day happiness to be with my kids. He said, I say want I would die for them, I lay my life for them, but you know, I would rather, he's like, if I say that I would die for them, I'm okay giving my happiness up for them. And everybody's like, no, like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. But and I agree with them. I don't think you should do that. Lay down your happiness
I don't think you should
every day.
have to.
I don't think you should have to, exactly. But but just him verbalizing that he has made peace with that and say, look, I'm just gonna have to, realize what years are gonna be good, what years are gonna be bad. I'm gonna muscle through the bad. I'm gonna enjoy the good, but I want to be around my kids every day. So I'm okay with deciding this is not for me, but in order to, to be around my kids and be with them on a regular basis and be, the family man that I want to be, I'm okay with being unhappy. And and unfortunately, of course he received backlash, right? Which is crazy because usually, you know, it's usually the opposite. It's like the niggas like, "Hey, I'm out, like deuces, I'm
Mhm.
Yeah,
gone," and women are like, women in society is
Well,
like,
because he verbalized it. That's what
what
it
what
is.
yeah,
what I'm saying is, he, in an instance where most men are looked at as they not fighting for their family or fighting to be in the
Hmm.
space. This man is literally saying, perfectly fine laying my happiness at the altar for my children. And
He
people
gets
have,
attacked.
and he's getting attacked. And so that's my thing. Is like, I've never heard anyone verbally say, yeah, I'm okay not being happy, and that's why when on the flip side is when you decide I'm going to take care of myself, it's because of all the sacrifices you made before even getting to the point where you're going to take care of yourself, that gives you that guilt feeling. I think that's me.
So let's. I want to unpack that for a second.
Yeah.
So we saying that taking care of yourself equals being happy.
it's a part of it.
I think it's a part. It can contribute to your happiness, and I think that what doesn't get seen sometimes is how many times we skip something that could potentially bring us more whether it be physical satisfaction, mental satisfaction,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, or just to care for something that innately you would enjoy, that you decide, you know what, I'm not gonna do that because I have to take care of my family, or I don't know if my wife is gonna look at me different if I go about it this way. If I like literally, you talk about a video game, sometimes you have to be like, all right, we're not in a good space. Let me put that controller down. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, but in that instance, is that better for you? Worse for you? Is that could that?
Well,
And of course, you got to balance it.
I don't know. I'm not being a contrarian to
But
that. I think I'm kind of captivated with because I'm thinking about all types of ways that you can do self care. Number one, it's not just video game. Like I can put the controller down, but I may go hiking. That's my new thing right
mhm,
now. And to me, coping or self care is more about stress tolerance. It's more about just kind of working out the stress that you get on a daily basis. As a black man in America, you got to be 200% better to get ahead at half of what
Yeah.
the other man get. Um, you're challenged left and right, even by your own men and women that are from your community. You have to deal with just the global experience of being this way. That's a stressful experience. Then you got to be a dad. Then you got to be so you add on these pressures, and self care to me is a way to mitigate those pressures. It doesn't necessarily equal, you know, me being able to identify that I'm happy, because happiness is a choice. Happiness is, from where I sit, it's a choice, right? Like some people, some men are happy being at war. War is a terrible thing.
I have to I have to jump in there.
Well,
If
I'm gonna put a period on
okay.
it, but it's like it, happiness is subjective, is what I'm getting at.
I get
I
what
get
you
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
I
and
get what you're
so
saying.
and so that's what I'm saying. Like to me, self-care is about quality of life, being able to experience life wholly and not just have one narrative. Like, I am so depressed, I am so stressed, I just don't want to go on anymore. Because like I just read an article about suicide rates uh going up in the younger group. I read an article about the burgeoning HIV rates here in Atlanta in the younger group. Like, they are out there being reckless, they're being wild, and they're suffering, as evidenced by the data. And that tells me that they're not doing any self-care. It's not just that they're not happy, they're not dealing with the stress that they're putting on themselves every day.
Yeah,
And they're being impulsive. And as a result, we're losing, community members, people that potentially could be assets and not liabilities. So that's why I kind of challenge it, because I don't really rock much with the stuff Ray J been a party to, but I actually can relate to that. Like, it resonated with me, because it's like my kids being in my children's life, when I see them, I see the potential of what I could have been. So I'm compelled to put everything in them early. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
make sure you do this, do this, like,
yeah,
and to
yeah.
see
I get
them,
it.
they're starting to blossom and become whole people that adults actually like being around. They're like, man, I really enjoy talking to your children. Like that, nothing makes
That's
me
great.
feel better.
No, that's a
you
good
you
feeling. That's a
doing
good
good
feeling.
by
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just like, am I really focused on rah rah versus being able to sit and be present and really take that in? Like, I see what Ray J's talking about. Like, I'm okay with the argument, because I
Right.
got to take my kids over to the basketball court and watch them play and socialize and be healthy. And I
Yeah.
come on home and let me just jump in the shower. I'm gonna go take care of myself. I'm gonna go work in the yard. like I've found a way to mitigate the things that I can't change.
Yeah. And I think
Um,
that was where that's kind of where he was coming from with it. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like I'm willing to deal with, oh, I'm gonna have some bad days here. It's gonna be,
Mhm.
the relationship ain't what I need it to be right now, but you know, we just gonna have to sacrifice that for
Right.
this,
I got
you
a
I,
bigger
know.
I,
title.
I've told Whitney this, like, because sometimes we have, conversation about kids and stuff like this. And I told her, like, look, I could hate your guts. And let's say we had kids, I could hate your guts. I'm going to fake it as long as these kids in the house, because I'm not going to be away from my kids. Like,
Right.
if I got to fake it and make you feel like the best woman in the world, and soon as the youngest flies the nest, I'm serving your ass papers, I'll do that.
Jesus
Because,
Christ.
no,
But
I'm just, because
but
I want you to understand, like, look, I'm not finna not be in my, like, y'all know, bro, I lost a parent early, dog. Like,
I know.
I will do everything I can in my power to be as active in my kid's life as possible. And I don't know if y'all watch Breaking Bad, but
Mm.
there's a scene from John Carlo, I forget his last name, but he talks about what it is being a man. It's like, shit, a man does things he doesn't want to do. A man does this, and he doesn't get to complain about it because he is a man. And what I see now is, all right, you take some of, my, like my godfather, my father-in-law, like those those men come from that ilk to where it's like, look, family first, fuck my happiness.
Mm.
What? I'm
uh,
happy.
uh,
What the fuck is happiness? Like, nah.
Mhm.
My
what
happiness comes from taking care of them. I'm determined as a man by how I put my family in the best position. Hell, I could hate life. Fuck it. It's just part of being a man.
Right.
My job is X, Y, and Z. And I do think now there's an overcorrection with that when it comes to men, because there has to be a healthy balance of, okay, I don't want to go this way because we've seen older men die earlier than what they should because of
well,
all the
I
added
mean,
stress.
we're seeing it
Yeah,
still, like
Yeah.
right now, like
My
but
age.
there
yeah.
also has to be that, okay, responsibility. Let me plan long term, and I understand there will be days or weeks or something to whereas I have to sacrifice my happiness for the long term aspect of either myself or my family. But I see now, especially when I'm talking to some people I am associated with that are younger, and I hear the way they talk, and I'm like, bro, like, nah, dog, like
It,
yes, you want to be happy, you want things to go your way,
but
but
it's
my
not
nigga,
that. That's
you
not how
gotta
it goes.
build
Yeah.
too.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm
uh,
I'm real careful with that. Because we only know what we know.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like it's I always wonder something like the military, for example, how they take a 23-year-old and put them in charge of 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds, first lieutenant, second lieutenant, telling a grown ass 25-year veteran in the military,
what
he's
to do?
day one lieutenant, she day one lieutenant, and they can tell them what to do. And I always wonder, how does that even make sense? And what I'm noticing is with that question, I'm noticing the new approach. The world has changed. And do the old approaches, are they really tried and true? Or are they antiquated and potentially deadly for us? Because, if you don't evolve, you die. And when you think about a world that's coming into artificial intelligence, where, your typical job that is like you call it, what do they call those jobs that are like common? I forget what they call them. These jobs that like if you worked at a restaurant, they got AI doing restaurant work now.
Mm.
They got, and it's going up higher, like AI building cars.
Yeah.
Like it's starting to take away the earning opportunities that men have attached themselves to. Like in a while, in less than 20 years, the typical job will be gone, right? And we're thinking about, oh, my value to my family is I provide. Isn't it dangerous to continue to push that?
I agree, and I think that a lot of the things we do is dangerous. I think that a lot of and I think that's the part of the conversation that I'm trying to bring out is that
Yeah.
we, for instance, and this is something that I tell my wife every time she makes like women, and this is just from my experience. I'm not going to speak for all women, but from my experience, whenever a woman makes a concession for you, you will know it. Like you're going to know. You will know
I got a trick to that.
she 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 made a concession for you. You know what I'm saying? Like there is something that she went out of her way to do for you. Um as far as like for us, we do it all day and nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows. I picked up both bags. I saw this one was heavy. I took it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows that like like
Nah.
I noticed this was going, this was messed up. I fixed it. You had no clue. Before it was a little loose. I got it good. Like nobody's gonna know that cuz I'm not going to be like, "Hey, look, I got the wrench.
Yeah.
I noticed this was a little loose. I tightened it up." And 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 it's not to say that this is a detriment to us, but the issue I have is the same way nobody knows when we make concessions in those ways. Nobody knows when we make concessions that contribute to the detriment of our health either. You
Because they're
know,
not paying attention.
and we're not verbalizing it most of the time. I'm just
Yeah.
being honest with you.
It
We
goes
wait.
both ways. It
Yeah, it
goes
goes
both
both
ways.
ways. It goes both ways. And I think what I learned a lot from from the death of my father-in-law last year is everybody's like, that was so sudden. Everyone's like, that was so sudden. And I was like, I
No, I
watched
seen
this
the same.
man. I was
Yeah.
like, I watched this man suffer for years.
You're right.
Like even in spaces where you would, like, I'm talking about public spaces where he would play it up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, nobody saw that. Like people were, I mean, literally, folks like, I mean, I was just talking to him. He was great. I was like, whoa. And
He tucked
that
it
is
up.
the degree. That is the degree of overlooked. You know, his care for himself was. I think that's the degree of it. Nobody when he came into the room, nobody like pulled a chair out for him, or you know how like when you see people that are are
Struggling
are
or going through it.
struggling.
Yeah.
It's like nobody was like, oh, let me hold this door for you. No, it's like literally, and it may be because of the way he carried himself. You know what I'm saying? But I was just like, yo, there was nothing sudden about this. Like he would go, he does all these club meetings and organization meetings and all. Like if you didn't see it, you weren't looking for it, right? And
Right.
you and I think that because of that, because we've learned to, I wouldn't say cover all the way cover it up, but we covered it up to a degree. And by the time we get to the point where we're messed up, nobody even knows we were jacked up. You get what I'm saying? So from my perspective, that's what brings in the guilt. When you start to take care of yourself, people start to see what you got going on and they start to kind of pressure you to be what you've always been, to
Yeah.
them. And this is
Because
like, no,
you messing up their version of you,
exactly,
and it makes
exactly.
them
I think
uncomfortable.
I think that's what I was trying to get at. It's like it's not to say that, you know, the guilt is something that is, I feel like it's born from the cover that we've put on our lives from a day-to-day standpoint. Meaning, if today, I'll give you an example. If today my foot hurts, you're not gonna know my foot hurt. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm out here, icing my foot or doing something, or it's just like, oh, you know what, I can't run around with the kids this afternoon. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like, damn, nigga, you just don't want to run around with the kids. Like, nah, but I don't want to be like, yo, my foot is in excruciating pain right now,
Right.
and in order for me to get the rest that I need to stay off it. You know what I'm saying?
So
And
I mean,
who
think about
indoctrinated? Hold on, who indoctrinated us? Like, where did we get that from? Like, what's the origin story for us faking Superman?
those that came before us. For example, no,
Mm-hmm.
wait,
I
let me
don't know.
finish. Let me finish. I have two scenarios. My best friend, her father passed like 2007, 2008. Dying of cancer. Never told his daughter. Never told his daughter. But he called me a week before and was like, me and him used to talk shit to each other. You know, that was our relationship. And like first serious talk, only serious talk we had, he was like, hey, Warren, watch out for her. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you ain't gotta worry about that. Where's this coming from? He's like, none. I just look out for her. And passed, didn't tell her, didn't tell only the doctors. And she's felt the way about that. And I can remember me and Whitney got in an argument about it one time. And I was like, I probably would have did the same thing. And I've heard other stories of fathers doing the same thing. And my argument to Whitney was, all right, I mean, you would know, you're my wife, like you here with me the other day, but I don't want other people to have to worry about me. I don't want other people to have to go out their way to take care of me and do these things. Like, I don't want to put my burden and what I'm going through on other people. I want, people to live their life. Like, we watched this Backstreet Boys special thing, and I think his name was Kevin. It was like the last time he saw his dad looked great, waved goodbye to him, smiling. Dad died five days later. Talked to the mom. Mom knew he was fucking hurting. But the dad told her, do not tell my son. Like, I want him to live his life. I don't want him to be focused. I don't want him to be worried about me. And Whitney's argument to me was, well,
No,
you're
wait a minute.
robbing people.
What was Kevin's feeling
I think
about that?
oh, he was hurt. Like he
Yeah.
was hurt. Like, and Whitney's argument was, well, you're robbing people of the opportunity to be able to get to spend time with you. You're not allowing them to make that decision to say, oh, okay, his burden is now my burden, which I understood. My mind didn't change, but that's just how I was conditioned. Not saying that it's right, but I've seen a lot of men and heard stories of a lot of men that their mind is like, look, my shit is my shit. I got to deal with it. My job is to make sure everybody else is okay. We don't talk about it. I mean, what's the old adage with black men? Like, hey man, how you doing today, brother? Yeah, I'm good. Can't complain. Hell, if I complain, ain't nobody gonna listen anyway. Like, we say this shit to each other all the time and joking. Like, I use that at least 2 or 3 times at the gym. It's just conditioning, not saying that it's right, but I mean, this is where we are. And I do feel that that core has to be there, but there also has to be a mind shift on how we go about it, because it shouldn't be 0 to 100. There should be some balance in between, and there should be an acceptance of that balance, because we all know, like, shit, uh going back to the playing the game shit. Like, damn, I see it all the time online too. Like, my man play the game for an hour a day or 2 hours a day, like shit. And you'll see some dudes in the comments like, yo, can that nigga get a fucking break? Like, life is hard out here. Oh, well, he should be focusing his energy on something else. I'm like, bro, do you not understand? If this man breaks down and goes fucking crazy, you gonna wish he was in there playing that fucking game. But if you
Man,
say that, it's like, oh, you're placing it on somebody else. Like, nah, there's understanding. Like, I don't know how everybody else household is. For me, my decompressing, sometimes I do a little too much. Smoking weed. Like, shit. Life hard. Fuck it. It's life. Smoke a little, calm myself down. That's my thing. Another person is, playing a video game. Those vices and stuff are needed and should be accepted, but we have been conditioned. I know I have been conditioned to be like, nah, dog. Hey, It's on you. Like
Man,
shit.
man,
So,
you know what's sad is behind every behind every man enjoying his life is a woman that's saying, I'm gonna give you an example. The other day we was at the park, and there's this guy. Like, we at the park, we take our kids to the park after, I don't know what it was. It was after a basketball game or something. So we take our kids to the park. And while we're at the park, there's this guy, and he's he has this, like, these old RV race cars,
mhm.
and he is, I mean, shooting, I mean, driving this car through the park. He's on the baseball field, I mean, hitting donuts, flipping that joint over. You know what I'm saying? He had to be in like his either his mid 30s or early 40s. I mean, but he was out there for about a solid hour and a half. You just see the car shooting back and forth. I mean, doing wheelies, all kinds of stuff, right? And 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 I told my wife, I said, man, somebody somewhere is wondering why he's out here so long. And she was like, really? I was like, yes. I was like, because it's been at this point, it maybe it was 2 hours of him doing this. But
Mhm.
I looked at it, I was like, this nigga is having a blast. Like, he's having a
A good
absolute
time.
good time.
Yep.
And it's just like, really, like, people are concerned, like a woman or somebody would be concerned that he's out here doing this. And I was just like, yes, and I was like, are you oblivious to the fact that, like, people get mad at men for doing this type of thing? It's just like, I just don't see it. And I was just like, see, that's the problem. Is like the fact that it happens so regularly, and you can have a conversation with whoever you want. They'll tell you. There's women that be like, he play basketball too much. He goes to the gym too much. He goes like I'm just being honest.
I've
Like,
heard that one.
I've heard it all. And it's almost crazy because it's a part of the way I've seen it develop and operate in society. But sometimes they don't even recognize that that's a part of how they operate. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you don't even recognize, like, when I'm out doing whatever, that you like, hey, checking in, what's going on, And I mean, and I've been married a while, so it's a lot less than it used to be.
You're
But
right.
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that it took some time for me to even get to that point, you know. And so I don't know. I just kind of, what I've noticed is that there's a there's a lack of awareness as well, that 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 stems from when men are doing whatever it is they need to do, that bothers women. Like, you ever heard men say women don't like it when men are having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was
And it's
that
true.
was that was the best joke I think I ever heard a comedian tell. I wish I could remember his name. He's a New York comedian. He's a Puerto Rican brother, and I'm saying that for a reason because he was getting it both ways. He's black and he Puerto Rican.
Hmm.
So and his wife was black and Puerto Rican. So he getting that energy and the other energy. And he happened to be not he didn't have a show that day, and he was at home on the couch enjoying himself, enjoying the game,
Hmm.
and he heard his wife's car come in the driveway. He said he immediately just jumped up, pulled a vacuum cleaner out the closet, plugged it up, and like as soon as she wasn't done, he was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And didn't have no teeth, cut all that off. Like he was just because he was like, anytime she sees me happy, she's pissed. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You could be doing this, this, that, and the third. And it really rung for me. But I'm gonna tell you something, man. I asked y'all earlier about, where do we get this from? It is indoctrination. And the Bible teaches us this.
Oh.
Men are supposed to be of service. That's what we're taught in religion. Whether you're Jewish, Islam, or Christian. I can't speak for Hindu and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
but in terms of American society where we are, that's indoctrination. We've been indoctrinated to servitude.
I
Look
mean,
at Job, right? Job
went through it.
he went through it and was not supposed to cry out at all. That's what God was proving to the devil. So the
Wow.
lessons, you understand? So the lessons
Mm.
are go to your grave. Don't tell nobody that you're suffering. When in actuality, the one thing that you are most afraid of doing is burdening your loved one. Once you have done that, they're burdened for the rest of their lives that they didn't get a chance to say goodbye. They're burdened the rest of their lives that they didn't get a chance to serve you and give back part of what you've given to them. My nephew passed from cancer. He had joined the Marines. He had kids, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm big for my kids." That we were gun enthusiasts together. That was something that we shared. And as you know, my mom had cancer, so he and my mom, even though that was his grandmother, they now have a different bond.
Connection. Yeah.
And so he would always come by and this and another. He would tell untruths about his progress.
Mm.
Oh, he's doing great. I'm doing good. This, that, and the third. And I'm thinking, well, he young, and they caught it early according to him. So I'm trusting what he's telling me. I'll never forget the day I got the phone call that he was in the ER and he never came out of there. Now he's younger than me. So I'm really this is years back too. So I'm young, he young. I'm like, what? I just talked to him. What is going on? And and you can feel it. I feel it now as I'm talking about it. This is 20 years later, bro. So I'm challenging men to consider. Don't think that you're burdening people with the opportunity of letting them know what's going on with you, because that's their chance to love on you. It's the chance for them to give you at least your flowers, so to speak. You know what I mean? And you said Kevin was hurt by his dad doing that. You think he would have waved goodbye? He probably would have went back and hugged him longer.
Yeah.
You know, because he can never hug him now, and that's something that he'll have to live with, and that's a burden. So it's interesting the things that we're taught by society, the things that are supported in our homes that have nothing to do with our health. When them young brothers be talking about, hey man, I gotta worry about my happiness, what I really hear them saying is, man, I gotta worry about my health. Why do we die before the women do? Our bodies ain't went through half of the trauma they go through.
Yeah.
Why do we die so early? Sometimes 7 years earlier before our wives even get sick to die. What is that?
Depending on who you married to, get away from them. But that's my joke
I,
for the
but
day.
hello. I mean, I'm just saying. So if depending on who you marry, your self-care could be saving your life.
Yeah.
Or extending your life with an opportunity to be like, you know what, I'm gonna leave this crazy shit and start a
Fuck
new
this
life.
fighting shit. You know what?
you
What's on
know,
the other side?
I'm just it's kind of hitting me right now. So if I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but it struck me because I was like, where did we learn this shit from? Why do I have to be like that? How does that serve my life, me having life? Here I am, folks dropping dead left and right, heart attack, stroke, in their 40s.
Yeah, that shit crazy.
I ain't talking about women, I'm talking about men.
And in your mind, I mean, for me speaking personally, it's like when I see that shit, it scares me, but at the same time, and y'all have heard me say this too many times, the game is the game. And I know it's not right. I know it's not right.
I
But
mean,
I've been
I think
so
you getting used to it, right?
yeah, I've been so
Yeah,
conditioned
That's what
where it's
happens.
like
Like,
condition.
yeah.
Yeah, you used to it.
this is what because I'm blessed to have a wife that cares about my mental and emotional health.
I
But
agree.
I don't think both men and women have that partner or friend or something like that who can within caring about it but also be honest with you during those situations. Now to the listeners, I know I am very harsh. I am very harsh, and I feel like I have my three nieces, well, four nieces, count my boy's daughter, and if I have a baby girl, I know that's God telling me you still got a lot of work to do on
Oh
your
yeah,
delivery.
you having a girl now. Don't get it twisted.
you
Like,
still got you still got a lot of work on your
That's funny.
delivery to do. Your heart may be in the right place, young man, but you got to work on your delivery.
You ain't there yet.
he need an adult. He's just
Uh,
need it.
Cause when I talk, cause it's
he
crazy.
definitely
Like
having a girl.
my
Yeah.
my wife, my wife will hear how I talk to boys and versus how I talk to girls, and it's completely different. I'm still harsh, but it's completely different. And it's like, all right, man. Like I know it's two different things, but how I was groomed with men, it's just like, nah, it's this, it's that. Hey, fuck that black and white shit. It's and I have to open myself up to like, all right, it's gray areas because it does sometimes affect my relationship with my wife. The whole machismo attitude when it's like, nah, we won. What you go through, I go through. But going back to bruh and his dad, like, think about it. He shared this with his wife, had a great relationship with his son, and thinking about it now, like, damn, how many days did the wife sit up there and think, yo, I really want to tell our son what's going on with his father, but I can't because this man is so into his own head about what his ideals of a man should be. I can't even go through this pain as a family. I just have to deal with it with him and I. I can't talk to anybody else about, my husband is about to die, especially to the person, to my son who would be here with me, who I can mourn with, who I can share experiences with. But, my husband is so in his head, acting selfishly, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, acting selfishly because how he was groomed or how he was raised that
Yeah.
we're not going through this together. The pain's still gonna be there, but alleviates, shit, being on an island by yourself, having to keep the secret, adding to her probably feeling like not only is my husband dying, but I'm lying to my son every day.
Mm. Good God Almighty.
No, it's a lot. That's a lot of layers right there, brother.
So it's like, as I'm thinking about it out loud, and I'm like, man, okay, maybe I do understand why Whitney was so mad and why my best friend was so mad at their father, because from how I was groomed, it was like, hey, I mean, I support what he did. Not saying it's right, but I support what he did. I would have did the same shit if I
Well,
had kids.
well, not just that. I mean, there's an effort to not pass on the pain, but it's still gonna be there, right? Like
Yeah,
when you look at the outcome is still there, and I think that's the thing is like you're trying to pacify something, and you may potentially have made it worse, you know,
Absolutely.
and so I think that's the piece of it. Is like, yeah, and not just that. And once again, it's about how you covering and masking all this stuff.
yeah,
And with Mikell saying, you don't even know where it comes from. You don't even get an idea. Like, damn, I've been conditioned to do that. And now you're forcing your wife into the same corner. So we talk about how it goes both ways. It may even go, that's an extreme case, meaning like
yeah,
you not only kept something from everybody else, you forced her to do it too. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just crazy to think that we create those barriers for ourselves, like, or we put those barriers up for ourselves. And it, in my opinion, it wasn't helping him. You know what
Mm-mm.
I'm saying? It wasn't
If
helping
any,
him.
you know what it was? I don't know what it was. You know what I think it was? I think it was because maybe he couldn't handle seeing his son broken. Like to have that like any man,
Yeah.
to sit there and tell your family, hey, I have X amount of time left. The doctors have told me to have to console, deal with your own mortality, and then to see your, in this case, his son have to deal with it may be too much for him to handle. That goes back to us not being comfortable crying. that goes back to us not being comfortable talking about things that are not about being hard. You know what I mean? Like it goes back to
A-
that
and not being
And
comfortable taking care of ourselves.
of not taking care of ourselves.
now and to add on to that, going back to the overall topic, me not telling him is, hey man, it's about everybody else. It's not about me. But not even in your mind, you think you're being selfless, but in actuality, you're being selfish
That's right.
because you're not giving somebody that choice. Because I mean, I will say, I mean, I hear a lot of men share, and I've dealt with these experiences to whereas, man, I don't open up with Shorty because she gonna throw that shit back in my face.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of men that go through that,
And that's
and
because we're not the only ones being indoctrinated.
yeah,
They
yeah.
are
And I was just
too.
about to say,
That's what I'm saying. Like they, yeah.
it's conditioning throughout like both men and women, and I have some friends and people close to me that make the jokes like, I don't like these new men. They talk too much. I feel like they they know too much nowadays. Like
Right.
they
We too
talking about their
smart.
feelings and shit like that. And I
Emotionally
laugh because it's
intelligent.
just like, okay, now you say this about the men. It's like I wish I would just go back to the old ways, how y'all used to be. And I always say this. Now we're okay with that. If you
Mm.
are okay with going back to
Yeah. We didn't want to
how
leave to
things
begin
used to
with.
be on y'all end.
Right.
So you can't ask for progression on one end and don't ask for it on the other. I mean, you can, but hey, that's just not how life
It's
works.
not realistic.
But I get it from, from their perspective in that aspect because with the newer generation, and there's one thing I like but dislike about them, they do hold other people accountable for their feelings as opposed to, my generation and those that came before me. People getting on your nerves, your partner getting on your nerves. Hey, bro, happy wife, happy life. The
That
new
bullshit.
dudes is like, nah, happy house, happy spouse.
That's right.
Like, it's different. And you'll have some women, I know some women who get offended when men say that. But just like we have to be, broken down of those ideologies and stuff like that, they have to be broken down out of those
Yeah.
ideologies as well, just as us as men with a lot of the archaic ways and we treat women or look at women have to come out our shells with those things as well.
Okay. All right. All right. To wrap this one up, what is your best piece of advice to a man on how they can take care of themselves? The best piece of advice you could say to a man
You go
how
first, Mikhail.
how to
I got
take
an
care of
ignorant
yourself.
answer, but smart
Well,
answer.
I mean, because I when I hear a question like that, I'm like, shit, it's different at different ages. But um,
Well, what about where you're at? What about where you're at right now? I think
right now,
that's fine. Where
where
you
I
at right
am,
now, and I'll speak to where I'm at.
I will tell you that your physical health is a priority. So whatever you can do to get physical or be active, that is needs to be the focus of your self care. Because activity at this stage, you have to men, we have to keep testosterone up. We got to keep all this stuff up. If we sit and get stagnant, we start to produce less testosterone, which means we have an increase of estrogen, which is negative in our old age. So for me, self care at this age is getting active. Like I said, I joined the hiking group. I got a gym membership. I do yard work. Like I'm doing things to keep my body active, and that helps to balance my mind. Because as you work out, this is kind of a nerd thing, but when you work out, you release lactic acid. Lactic acid is a trigger for serotonin, and serotonin is what makes you focus and calm out of anxiety. So the more active you are, the better of mind you'll be. Actually, that can extend to most age groups. Now that I think
Yeah,
about
I think that's across the board, brother.
it, across the board.
I think that's across the board, buddy. I think for me it would be um you know 24 hours. You got to spend some time with yourself in that time.
Mm, like
At
an
some
hour.
and at some of it something. You know what I'm saying? I was asked at my dinner table the other day by all, like, we do these little conversation cards, and the question is, what point of the day do you find the most peace? And everybody, gave their answer. And when they got to me, I was just like, I couldn't find it. Like, everybody had their pockets of peace. I was like, I didn't, I don't have it. Like, and we're talking about awake hours,
Mhm.
And I was just like, yeah, I gotta find a pocket of peace. Like, I have to find a moment of peace on a regular basis, not
When-
just oh, I went to the gym a couple times and that, no, I need a designated
Daily,
daily time where I have my peace.
1 o'clock a.m., 1:30.
I mean, but
Trifling.
even
That's
then,
terrible.
I'm missing out on sleep for it. You know what I'm
That's what I'm
saying?
saying. That's why I said terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, you're missing out on sleep for that, right? And that's there's like, well, that's what you be doing when you go in the bathroom and you just keep the door closed. I said, I'm stealing it. I'm
Yeah,
Right.
taking it at that point, right? I'm just
And even
taking it.
then,
yeah,
It was, yeah,
Daddy,
exactly. That's exactly what I said to them. I said, y'all come knocking and y'all come making it an issue that I'm in there. Warren, what about you, bro?
I got two
jeez.
questions I would ask first, that they would have to figure out. The first question would be is question but action. What makes you happy? Like, what are the things you do that make you happy? Like when you smile and have joy, where do those things come from? What actions are they? And the second thing would be, where is your unhappiness coming from? Like, you have to take the time to figure out what is making you unhappy. For some people, they can figure out. For some people, they would need therapy to figure it out. Because, alluding to some Kel said in regards to the war, I am a believer that sometimes in order to have peace, you got to go to war. And whether that's war with yourself, war with the world, war with your internal feelings, you have to address those things and battle those things and overcome those things to truly have a consistent state of happiness. And then once you figure out, those two questions, okay, what are the action plans for you to get there and to find that happiness? Like, happiness, to be in a constant state of happiness, you have to put the work in to do so. So my thing would be like, hey man, get ready for battle. But when you get on the other side, it's a wonderful feeling.
Man, that's so real. Fellas, thank y'all for going there with me today. I know that y'all didn't know what we were gonna talk about when we started, but I appreciate y'all for just taking it there. I think
Yeah.
that too often we overlook ourselves, man, and I think that's something I hope our listeners, as you're listening, man, figure it out. Take some time for yourself, man. Like I said, for more conversations like these, it's You Good Bro Podcast on Instagram,
Dang.
Facebook, You Good Bro Pod on Twitter,
Cool.
on
Cool.
YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, leave
All
the
that.
comments, hit the notification bell so you know when we're dropping. I am Sam Dupe, and I'm good.
I'm Tim Mikell, and I'm good.
I'm Warren P and I'm good.
And just like that, we out.
Peace.